like to introduce our speaker today for those who have never met her. So Blessing is one of the British Council social media consultant for the English Course program in Sub-Saharan Africa. So she moderates posts and content on our two community practice groups. So one for teachers on Telegram and one for teacher educators on WhatsApp. So Blessing is passionate about enhancing the literacy skills of young learners across Africa, and she has pioneered a free virtual reading club for learners across Africa and Asia. She's a strong advocate of homeschool collaboration, and she has created a platform aimed at uniting, actually platforms, so not just one, aimed at uniting the home and school by organizing frequent webinars and conferences for both teachers and parents. So as a presenter, she has appeared in several webinars and conferences, both locally in Nigeria and internationally across SSA and across the globe. So thanks, Blessing, for coming in today for this session. So would you like to start now?
Yes, please. Thank you so much, Steve, for the introduction. Thank you. And yes, thank you everybody for joining. I welcome you all to today's webinar. I'll be talking about understanding learner motivation, as Steve has earlier announced. And also thank you for taking the pre-webinar polls on the Telegram platform. And these are some of the responses. The first question here: what are your goals for this webinar? Okay, select all that apply. So 78% of respondents say they want to learn new strategies for encouraging learner engagement and participation. Okay, and 57% want to understand the importance of learner motivation and its impact. 42% want to share best practices, and 57% want to network with other professionals in the field. And the next poll says, what is the biggest challenge you face in motivating your learners? The highest percentage here, 36%, says lack of interest in the subject matter. 28% says limited resources, and 31% says collaborative learning and group work, and 5% says difficulty in engaging learners with different learning styles. Yeah, these are obvious challenges. And thank you for your responses so far. So we have another question here. Which of the following strategies do you currently use to encourage learner engagement and participation? So the highest percentage says they use collaborative learning and group work. That's 62% of respondents, and 50% says they use real-world applications and examples, and 37% says they use technology-enhanced learning, and 31% says gamification and rewards. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for your wonderful responses. This is very, very useful to us in this webinar, and I hope that we're able to meet up with your expectations for this webinar. Thank you. So, Steve, can we please go on? Yes, so now to the objective of today's webinar. We are here to understand the underlying motivations and drivers of learner engagement, and to learn how to create an autonomy supportive learning environment, to discover strategies for developing learner competence and confidence, to explore techniques for building relatedness and fostering a sense of community, and to gain practical tips for applying these strategies in your teaching practice. Thank you. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so here we have what is motivation. And I know that we are teachers, we are teacher educators, and this topic is not new to us. It's not foreign, at least. So in your own word, what would you say is motivation? Yes, please. I would like to hear from you in 1 or 2 seconds. Yes, fastest fingers. What is motivation in your own word? Okay. Any comments coming in? What is motivation in your own word? Okay. All right. Somebody says encouragement. Another person says stimulation of interest. Okay. Zeal. Yeah. Encouragement to succeed in learning. Yes. Good. Thank you so very much. I may not be able to take all our responses. Thank you for your participation on that. So, what is motivation? Generally, motivation has been viewed as the energy or drive that most people to do something naturally. Okay, so it's that driving force that sustains human behavior. That is what motivation is about. And motivation can be seen in two forms. Yes, in two forms. It could be intrinsic motivation, okay, and it could also be extrinsic motivation. What do I mean by intrinsic motivation? This stems from within, motivation that comes from within, from personal desires, tend to do things on your own, based on your personal interest, on your own and personal enjoyment, what you enjoy doing, on your satisfaction. Okay, so that is intrinsic motivation. Then we have extrinsic motivation. Okay, so this stems from external forces. Okay, so it could be due to rewards. Maybe somebody is going to reward you if you do well in this or that. Okay, maybe you want to have better grades so that you can boast about it and feel proud of yourself. Okay, what about social pressure as well? That is extrinsic. You want to fit into the social circle, to the social class. So all those are extrinsic. So we have intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So now let's take this quiz. Next slide, please. Okay, now this is a quiz, and I want us to please pay attention to this. Which of these scenarios, A or B, depicts intrinsic or extrinsic motivation? A says studying a new topic for the sake of learning a new topic, and B says studying to brush up on a topic to earn certification. So, which of these do you think is intrinsic and which one is extrinsic? If you say A, you have to let me know if it is intrinsic or extrinsic. Okay, somebody says A is intrinsic, B is extrinsic. Beautiful. Okay, yeah, I see B depicts extrinsic motivation. All right, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, so you're absolutely correct. So studying a new topic for the sake of learning a new topic is actually intrinsic. But studying to brush up on a topic to earn certification is extrinsic motivation. Next slide, please. Okay, so here on this slide, we are going to compare intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation, just for us to have a clearer picture of what we mean by intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. And before I continue, I'd like to mention that this doesn't depict that one form is better than the other. So I'm not trying to say intrinsic motivation is the best or extrinsic is the best. We can actually have both, but just for us to have a good understanding of how to motivate our learners. So let us look at various scenarios now, from various category of learners, the young learners, the teenagers, those in the higher education system, and other activities that we run in the school. So now, for example, a child in the primary school reads a book because they enjoy the story. That is what intrinsic motivation. Another child reads a book to earn a gold star from the teacher. Okay, that is extrinsic, external rewards, right? Okay, look at the secondary school now for the teenagers. A student participates in a science experiment out of curiosity. That is intrinsic motivation. Another student participates to earn extra credits. That is extrinsic motivation. Then we have in the higher education system, a student researches a topic deeply because they find it intellectually stimulating, intrinsic. And a student researches a topic to complete an assignment for a grade. That is extrinsic motivation. Now, coming to classroom participation now, a student answers questions because they enjoy discussions. Enjoyment, intrinsic, coming from within. Then a student answers questions to avoid losing participation marks. That's grading now. Okay, that is extrinsic motivation. Talking about homework and assignment, some students complete an assignment because They love problem solving. That's intrinsic. While some others complete an assignment to avoid penalties for late submission, extrinsic motivation, examination and test. We have some students studying because they enjoy gaining knowledge, intrinsic motivation, while others study to pass the exam and get a high GPA. So that's extrinsic. For projects, we have some students who work on a group project because they enjoy teamwork and creativity, intrinsic, while others work on a group project to avoid a low grade or for peer pressure. So that's extrinsic motivation. So this is just to give us a good understanding about what we mean when we say intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. I hope this has helped us a little bit. All right, thank you so much. Next slide, please. Yeah. Okay, so now we go to the self-determination theory. Now, just to mention that this is not to take us deep into research. We are not deviating or delving deep into research or theories right now. But just to let us know that this topic of motivation is something that, is very key. It's key, and a lot of psychologists and philosophers have actually gone very deep in the study of motivation. And this work, the self-determination theory, which is actually described as a framework, was actually developed by two psychologists, Edward Deci and Richard Wren, okay, because they began to explore and to study human behavior and human motivation. And this self-determination theory suggests that all humans have three basic psychological needs, which are autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Okay, and they all determine our growth and development. So, what do we mean when we say autonomy? Autonomy simply means the need to feel in control of one's action. So, the need to feel in control of your life, to make your own decisions, make your own points known. That's autonomy. Competence, the need to feel effective and capable. Okay, so you feel that you can do it. All right, you can deal with people, you can deal with your environment. Yeah, so that's competence. Relatedness, the need to feel connected and valued. So you want to have this connection with people, you want to have this affectionate relationship with others. Just like we talked about emotional intelligence and discussed a lot about that on Telegram yesterday. So that is relatedness. So these are three basic psychological needs as described by Edward Deci and Richard Wren that all humans need or all humans have. But I want to ask you, in your own point of view, how would you describe your psychological need from this framework? How would you describe? Would you say your need is only autonomy, or your need is competence? You just want to feel competent, or would you say just relatedness? You just want that relationship with people, or would you say all of the above: autonomy, competence, relatedness? How would you describe your own psychological needs? Please put your answers in the chats. Okay, I see some people saying B and C. Some people say A, B, C. Yeah, all of the above. Yeah, I think I have more all of the above responses. Thank you for your responses. All right, thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, yes. So, challenges of keeping learners motivated. We want to talk about these challenges. These are basic challenges. We all experience these challenges in our classes, right? Good. So, we just have them categorized into four. It doesn't mean that this summarizes all. There could be more that I may not even mention during this webinar. Okay, so first of all, here we have internal challenges. Okay, some learners come with their own personal challenges. Okay, so for example, they have lack of interest, they're not interested in whatever is going on in your classroom. Some have low esteem, they feel I can't do it, so I'm shy, I don't want anybody to notice me. I think I used to be there at one time. And some have the fear of failure. They don't just believe in themselves, they feel they can't do well in this particular subject area. Some are just being distracted, and some keep procrastinating on task. So these are some of the difficulties or the challenges that keep our learners from being motivated and becoming the best of who they are. Okay, so we also have external challenges. It could be due to poor instructional design and learning materials if the teacher is not competent enough to create a meaningful lesson that will be attractive and interesting. It could also pose a problem for the learners. Okay, or maybe the methods are not engaging enough or are not even relevant to their context or to their age group, you know, okay, or no effectiveness, okay, teacher is not effective, lack of feedback and support, the teacher is not giving adequate feedback and is not supportive enough, and some teachers give unrealistic expectations. You know, you give your learners so much task and tell them to submit first thing the next day. you know, all right. And other environmental factors. We have areas, for example, in Nigeria now we are approaching the raining season. And I know that there's some areas that are prone to flooding. And some children we need to go in the rain to school. Sometimes they go to school and their classrooms are actually flooded. And we also have some local areas where children actually trek long distances to get to school. By the time they get to school, they are weak and tired. They can't even listen to you. We also have some children who come from, very poor background, and they may have to do some trade for their parents, maybe take something to the store, to the shop before coming to school in the morning. And they come to school, they are hungry, they are weak, they are sweaty. So all of these external challenges are there, and they keep learners from being motivated. We have psychological challenges, and here we have a fixed mindset. Some students just believe that education is not for me, schooling is not for me. I remember when I served my NYSC so many years ago. I think I was about 24 years old then. And I worked in a school far away east of Nigeria. And you could see that the boys in the school were not willing to learn. They were not willing to learn. So you go to school, to class, and you usually see the girls. And when you ask these guys, why are they not in school? They'll tell you, ah, Copper, I have bike. I do motorcycle business if I come to school. So they have to rally around for money. They do motorcycle business before they come to school. So they feel the men are to make money while the girls are to go to school, in that concept. And not even all girls. We still have some girls in that region that their parents refuse them from going to school. So they have this fixed mindset that school is not for them. Some have anxiety issues, stress issues, lack of autonomy, cultural or social barriers, all of these issues. Some even have issues from home. Maybe they're coming from a home with domestic violence or some other kind of issues surrounding their home that keep learners unstable and demotivated. Then lastly, here we have technological challenges. There might be technical issues, digital literacy. Some teachers have not embraced technology, and some others are in regions where they don't have all of these tools. They don't even have a good phone. They can't even attend a webinar like you and I right now. All of these things, and sometimes information overload. We give children, our learners, too much task. All of these things can keep them keep them away from being motivated. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we want to see strategies for encouraging learner engagement and participation. Okay, so how do we create an autonomy supportive learning environment? How do we make our learners take ownership of their learning? Okay, so these are some of the ways we can actually, foster autonomy in our classes. So first, we can offer choices in topics and activities or assessments. So you can come to class and say, okay, we have these topics. Would like to explore this term. So I have all of these topics. Can you choose from 1 to 5? What would you like to learn this week? What should we talk about first? What area interests you the most? Let them contribute. Let them talk. Some can even suggest topics that are not even in your scheme. But you realize that those topics are actually relevant, and you might have just skipped it by mistake. So we need to hear from them and offer them choices too. Okay, then we should also allow our learners to work at their own pace. Everybody is not the same. We have the high flyers, the middle achievers, we have the up and coming. So treat every learner according to their ability. We should also provide opportunities for learners to reflect on their learning. So let's not just overload them with too much content every time content. Let them have some time to even reflect. What have you learned today? What have you learned this week? What are your takeaways from what we talked about in the last class? What can you remember? Okay, so let's give them all of these opportunities. Thank you. Next slide, please. All right, so still on strategies, we should also provide regular and constructive feedback. This is so important as educators. We cannot just be teaching our learners and giving them classwork assignment, and they don't ever get to see their results or their performances. And we have teachers like that who will keep giving homework and they will never mark it. They will never check through to know if the homework was properly done or not. So let's not do that. Let's provide regular constructive feedback. Otherwise, we are going to demotivate them. The next time you give them assignment, they will say, "Oh, he won't even check. He doesn't even care. So why should I do the homework?" So we should do that. Encourage learners to reflect on their strengths and their weaknesses as well. So when you give them feedback, let them reflect on what they've done well and what needs improvement. Let's help learners to set specific, achievable goals. This is something I did with my learners back then. Even at year 3, year 4, thinking about children of 7, 8-year-olds. Once you come to my class at the beginning of the session, I will always tell you, get a piece of paper and write down at least 5 things that you want to improve before you leave my class. So for their level, we have some people that will say, I want to improve on my handwriting, I want to read better. So now think about those in higher classes, what they will write down for you. So let's help them to set such kind of goals. Thank you. Next slide, please. All right, so still on strategies, we should also encourage collaboration and group work. Some learners will never contribute in the class. They will never talk, they will never say anything, even though they know the answers to your question. But if you put them in groups, put them in pairs, maybe you pair them with their best friend or a classmate, they'll be more willing to talk, to open up, and to share ideas. We should also provide them, for social interaction and discussions and debate. So provide them that avenue for them to discuss openly, to have discussions, to have debates about topics that are challenging, okay, or that are common or trending at that moment. Then let us foster a sense of belonging and community. So nobody is more important than the other in your class. Everybody should be treated equally. It should be a community. Everybody should have a sense of, oh, I can talk, my point counts in this classroom. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, yeah. So here we have a question. I can see the picture here from one of our mini events. This was held in February, our February 12th mini event. Okay, and we had 3 sessions in that event, but I think this was the second session by Gabriel. Okay, and in this session, Gabriel talked about giving constructive feedback to our students. And in wrapping up, he said something that is very profound, and I still remember today. He says, "Show that you care." Okay, and that care is an acronym. Okay, and it tells us that we should put all of these things into perspective when giving feedback to our students. Now, I don't know if any of you was at that mini event, but if you were there, I would like you to please go to the chat and tell me, what does this acronym represent? Yeah, care. In giving constructive feedback, what does C represent? What does A represent? What does R and E represent? Anybody who can remember? Yeah. Are we thinking through? Okay. I'm going to count 1 to 5 in my mind. And if there's nobody, I'll just go ahead to reveal. Okay. Somebody is trying constructive feedback. Okay. So what does CARE represent? Okay, so this is one reason why you should always attend all our webinars, all our mini events. I will post the link. And if you even miss it, I think you should always watch the recording, because there are so many things that we learn, from across the globe right now, not just African context. All right, so now let's review. Let's review. I think I've waited. Okay. Yeah, somebody said R for reflect. Okay, somebody said care. Okay, all right. So now this is it. Thank you, Steve. Acronym for giving feedback, according to Gabriel. C is for clarity. So make your feedback very precise, straight to the point. Let it not be ambiguous and too many words. Then appreciate. Always start with an appreciation. At least they put in some effort into doing the work. So for their effort and for their time, let's remember to start with an appreciation. Then let them also reflect. Reflect on what they've done. Okay, what have they done right, and what can they do better? So let's draw their attention to what they've done well and what could be done better. So that we're trying to help them reflect on that. Then let's empower them by giving them the right resources, the right information, that could support the correct answers or results that is expected of them. So this is the acronym for care in giving constructive feedback: clarity, appreciate, reflect, and empower. I'm sure you can find the link later on from the slides, okay, which will be on the website. Thank you. Next slide, please. Yeah, all right. So now we have a case study. And I'm sure this case study should not be something that is strange to any of us here. So I would like to hear from you in the chat. Laura is a teenage English learner. That means she should be in the secondary school, right? Who lacks motivation. She's usually not motivated. She rarely participates in class and finds grammar lessons boring. So the question is, what strategies would you use to increase Laura's motivation? Okay, for a learner in your class, okay, who lacks motivation. All right, what strategies would you use? Can you please share your ideas in the chat? Thank you. Please share your ideas in the chat. What strategies would you use for a learner who rarely participates in your classroom or who finds grammar lessons boring? Somebody says teamwork, class project, DIYs. Okay, am I getting the correct? All right, grouping, allocating language, building. Okay, I think Laura likes what she likes. Okay, give her what she likes. Okay, the messages are coming in so fast. I'm skipping. Incorporate games. Okay, all right. Lead classroom interaction. All right, thank you. Sorry if I didn't take your points. Sorry about that. So yeah, very beautiful points. Thank you so much for that. Next slide, please. All right, so these are some suggestions that I've gathered together, and I'm sure that some of your ideas are already here. So, to keep Laura motivated, these are some of my suggestions. First of all, find out Laura's interests. What does she like? Does she like music? Does she like movies? Does she like what hobbies does she like? And you can integrate some of these things into the lessons, just to keep her active and interested. Use real life examples. Okay, think about what happened in the class or what happened around the school or what happened somewhere in the community, and infuse that to your lesson and your grammar exercises. All right. Use games. We have so many tools now, IT tools, Kahoot, Quizlet, Duolingo, all of these things. All right. And if you don't have tech tools or you don't really have so much exposure on this, there are other games, other hands-on games that your students will really love as well. So when we say games, not only about tech tools. All right. Incorporate role playing, storytelling activities where you can apply grammar naturally. Students like stories, even adults. We love stories. All right. Encourage group work. We talked about that already. You're right. So group work is very essential. Assign pair teaching, all right? So pair her with someone in the classroom, incorporate videos, podcasts, interactive grammar apps, all of these interesting things just to get learners' attention. Encourage learner by setting small, achievable goals. Remember, no work overload. Okay, and always praise her. There should be praise. All right, motivate her. Oh, you're doing well. Wow, amazing effort. Wow, thumbs up. Bravo. Things like that. All right, use reward systems like stickers. Those of us that teach young learners, we know that stickers, are always with us. Stickers, use certificates, and extra privileges. And show her how grammar helps in texting, emailing, and social media posts. I am sure teenagers will love this. Once they know that, oh, this is going to help you with TikTok, with Facebook, with Instagram, I'm sure they will want to listen to you in your classroom. Thank you. Next slide, please. All right, another quick quiz. Yeah, so can you think of a time when your students were so eager to learn a particular topic or subject in class? So, what factors would you say contributed to their motivation? Okay, were these factors majorly intrinsic or extrinsic? Now we are going back again to intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. I hope we still remember. For those of us who joined along the way, we talked about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation at the beginning. So, what form would you say actually motivated your learners? Were they intrinsically motivated or were they majorly extrinsically motivated? And could you share some of those factors that contributed to their motivation? Somebody said promise of rewards. Okay, I need to scroll down. Okay. Somebody says, feel with the guide, up to listening, using music, watch videos. All right. I'm trying to still see who is talking about intrinsic or extrinsic motivation right now. Okay. All right. Somebody says extrinsic. Okay. Using music. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Games, pictures. Wow. Extrinsic, intrinsic. Good, good, good. Using songs. Oh, thank you. So I see that we understand the concept of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Thank you very much for your responses. All right. Next slide, please. Yeah, so these are some of the takeaways just to wrap up and summarize some of the things we've been talking about from the beginning. Yes, so we have to start small in giving our learners activities to do or tasks to do. Let's start small. Let's not, give them too much at a time or at a go. Otherwise, they feel overwhelmed and they feel, oh, this is too difficult for me to understand. So always start small. Like what we are taught, back then, you say start for as teachers, you must teach from known to the unknown. That's the way we were raised, from known to the unknown. So always start small from what they know before taking them to those other abstract things. All right. So now always collaborate with colleagues. I see some teachers, they want to just do it like I know it's all kind of teacher. I can just be on my own. You have colleagues, you have supervisors, you have people that can help you. Some people have passed through that challenge that you are facing in your classroom. And if you don't talk, you just be there sweating. Just talk to a colleague. This is what I'm facing in my class. They'll tell you, oh, I've been through it before and I did ABC. And by the time you try it, your problem is solved. So please collaborate with colleagues, all right? And be patient and be persistent with your learners. Everybody cannot work on the same pace, like we said before. We have different category of learners. Conduct regular feedback sessions. Please give feedback for every question, for every task, for every project that you assign to your learners. Please give them adequate feedback and let it be constructive. Show that you care. Let's always show that we care in our feedback. Then use varied instructional strategies, different methods of asking questions. It shouldn't be predictable. Oh, it must be this way. It must be this way. Let it be varied so that it's not boring to your learners. Encourage learner autonomy. Let them have a say. Let them have a choice. Let them also give suggestions on your lessons and what they think they want to learn and what could be done better in your next class. Please, let's create that opportunity for them to voice out, oh, what do you think we can do better in our next lesson? That will help you to understand. It's not a crime for your learners to tell you what they feel could have been done better. All right, foster a growth mindset. So those people that have this fixed mindset that I can't do it or it's not for me, try to talk to them. I remember conducting a seminar for some students there when I was doing my youth service as well, because they weren't appreciating education. So we had to do, I called other corpers and we had to do a seminar titled Importance of Education, something like that. I think so. Importance of formal education, yes. So we had to do that so that those guys who are busy driving bikes, they began to understand why they need to go to school, even as men. Yes, they want to make money, but as well they need education. Yeah, use technology strategically. Okay, not every time you come with tools and apps. Your students don't even have phones. Some of them don't even have data. You keep coming up with Kahoots and Quizlets. Please look for what they need. Yeah, I know that it's good for us to have these tech tools, but look for what they actually need. What is useful in your classroom? Celebrate successes, give them rewards, praises, then continuously reflect and improve. As a teacher, you must reflect. What am I doing right? What can be done better? That is why I celebrate you all for coming for this webinar, because it shows that you really want to improve. You want to get better. I want to get better. So that is part of it. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. Yeah, so yes, we have these ongoing training courses. And if you have not registered for motivating activities for primary, you need to register now. Yes, I hope if Steve can help drop the links on the chat, I really appreciate that. So we have how to motivate our learners. It's ongoing right now. 2 training courses by the British Council, all for free. It's open. I've enrolled already. Yes, very, very interesting training courses, and you have to just partake and get enrolled in these courses. So these are the links to these courses, and it's going to elapse by June 17th, 2025. Okay, so please do that right now, and or after the webinar, please register for these courses so you can gain more. Now, this webinar is focused on learner motivation, but even there, yeah, this training course, you will see other areas about teacher motivation as well. Yes, because I'm focused. This scope is based on learner motivation, but you will even get more from the training course about teacher motivation. Some teachers are not motivated. And as a teacher, if you are not motivated, I wonder how you are going to motivate your learners. So this training course will help you stay motivated, even as a teacher. So please don't miss out. Thank you. Next slide, please. Yeah, take away task. So on Friday, every Friday we have this post webinar session, or we have discussions led. So we're having a webinar today. That means by Friday we're going to be having a post webinar session. And this is a takeaway task, which we're going to be discussing about in details during our post webinar on the Telegram COP on Friday. Okay, so when you register for that training course, Motivating Learners, there is this workbook. Okay, it's a reflective journal for teachers. Okay, which you have to download. And this is the link showing on your screen. So you have to download that workbook, okay, and fill it. Okay, it's going to guide you in your reflection. So please, let's do that. Let's reflect and fill up that workbook. We'll be talking about it on Friday when we meet on Telegram. Yes, please, everybody should do their homework. I'm going to be giving feedback, and I'm going to be showing you that I care on Friday. Thank you. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we've come to the end of the webinar. Thank you very much for your interesting comments, your feedback. I see a lot of it coming in the chat. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas and experiences. Thank you so much. Any questions for me?
Thanks, Blessing. Yeah, very informative session. You shared a lot, especially on the strategies on how to cater for different learners' needs. We've seen 3 questions in the chat. So the first one is from Pierre. So Pierre is asking, which one do you think is the best? Because for him, extrinsic motivation, when you focus on extrinsic motivation, then there's no learning purpose behind it. I'm not sure if you get the question.
Yeah. I understand his question. Like I said from the beginning, we really can't say this is the best or this is not good enough. Okay. So when we talk about intrinsic motivation, right, it comes from the learners, right? It comes from within. All right. Then extrinsic, the way you support your learners, you get them motivated, on their task and in their learning as well. So we can't really say anyone is the best. But what I believe is this: as a teacher, if you support your learners extrinsically, like you motivate them extrinsically, eventually you realize that your learners become intrinsically motivated, because once they begin to get interested in what you do, in what you teach, in what you say, that means they are beginning to have interest. And once interest is formed, that means they are intrinsically motivated. So if you have learners who are not intrinsically motivated, that is no problem. You go ahead, support them, with external praises, and support them every way you can, and with time, they become intrinsically motivated. So, Pierre, thank you for that question. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Thanks, Blessing, because I also wanted to follow up, but you've already actually answered that part where I was interested in actually how you can actually improve intrinsic motivation through extrinsic motivation, and you did that very well. So I guess I would just move to the next question. This one is from Vidya, and she's asking, when your pupils come to class, how do you prepare them to learn?
Yes. Okay. So when pupils come to class, we know as teachers that there must be a starter activity, a warmer activity. You must set the right tune for your class. And it all depends on the category of learners. If you're teaching very young learners, most times you have to start with songs, with music, with actions, jumping up and down to keep them going. If you're teaching adult learners, you may come up with a teaser, okay, or with something that will make them collaborate, talk to someone in the group, or a pair walk, something that will just set the right tune for your class, because you don't want to start the program. People are sleeping or dozing off or slouching, on their chairs. You want everybody to be up. So, yes, you need to start your class with the right tone. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Blessing, for answering. Now, the other question, the final question, same from the same person, Vidya, and I guess it's going to be a little bit linked to the webinar that we have next in actually 2 weeks' time around assessment. So this one is about, in what ways assessment for learning is an inclusive pedagogy to keep your pupils motivated to learn?
Okay, can you please repeat that question for me?
In
what ways can assessment?
Yes, in what ways assessment for learning is an inclusive pedagogy to keep your pupils motivated to learn?
Oh yes, so yeah, like you said, we're talking exclusively about assessment in the subsequent webinars. But assessment can come in various forms. Okay, so is it formative assessment? Is it summative assessment? For me, I always encourage the formative assessment, because it's not so nice that you just have your learners learning and learning. Then at the end of the term, you just come up with all of these questions. So every lesson, there should be a form of assessment, whether formally or informally. Take, for example, this webinar. We've assessed ourselves at various times without even saying it, or without even knowing that you are being assessed. So all of these quizzes, all of these teasers, all of these things I've been doing with you is a formative assessment, trying to check your understanding of what I've been saying. So this is what we should do in our classes. So we should have a formative assessment with our learners. Every time you teach, you must always find out if whatever you have said has made any sense at all, or they're just looking at you. So you'll be able to digest what you've taught them. So I think, yes, so for me, formative assessment, then summative assessment goes for me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Blessing. We don't have any more questions in the chat. I've just seen one, actually, by the way. It's from Mustafa, and he's asking, how can I motivate participation among students who tend to hide in the back of the class, in a large classroom?
So that's very common, especially for those who teach large classes. Yeah, so we have those We call them backbenchers, you know. I always want to be there at the back. And I remember in secondary school, then people always have this notion. Teachers believe that those people that stay at the back, they don't know anything. They are the blockheads of the class. And sometimes it may not just be like that. We have students who just enjoy, you know, hiding. You know, even when they know what you're doing, they just want to hide somewhere. You know, but I would say that if you teach a large classroom, grouping is a very good way to carry everybody along. Pair work and grouping. If you group them, they can't hide. So if you have 100 to 100 students in your classroom and you have a group of 5 or 6, okay, so that means you're going to be having them into different groups, into different sections, about 20, 25 of them, you know, kind of working on a project, working on something. It will be very hard for someone to walk and hide, you know, in a group, you know. So I think you should try to do more of grouping, more of pair work, you know, more of this of discussion, all right? Give them topics to go research on, come out and make presentation. So everybody is saying something. Everybody, you know, feels have a sense of belonging. So nobody feels those of us at the back. Nobody is talking to us. And you know, there's sometimes that if you teach a large class, students at the back, they may not even hear what you are saying. So you feel that they are just being naughty, but they can't even hear you. So if you're a teacher, you teach large classes, you must find a way to arrange your classroom setting in such a way that they can hear you and they can see you. And you cannot stand at the front of your class and be shouting over their heads. You need to walk front, back, you know, pace up and down for them to feel your impact, feel your presence in the class, and for you to see that they are actually following and doing what you're telling them to do. Because of course, if you stay in front, those people at the back, they'll be busy gisting and doing something else. So these are some of the strategies that you can use to manage your large classes and keep everybody motivated.
Thanks, Blessing. Yes, and actually from experience, I've actually seen, you know, in classrooms, you know, some learners actually at the back, they don't even have good vision, so they may even not even participate because of lack of visibility on the board. So all those things, all these aspects actually key. You know, and I know teachers, you know, need to have, you know, several skills. One of them is actually, you know, being good at logistics and how to organize the classroom. So thanks for sharing these tips. We have one more question here from Abdi. I'm not sure I get the question. So Abdi, would you like to unmute and ask your question, please? Abdi, if you can hear us, please unmute and ask your question. He shared the same question, but I still don't get it. But otherwise, let's actually give the opportunity to someone else who's on the call. So if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand and we'll let you ask your questions live. Anyone? Abdi, I see you unmuted, but I can't hear you. So would you mind saying something, Abdi?
Have you?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. Okay, my question. Today I'm sorry too late for our meeting.
Okay, it's okay.
I'm sorry. So my questions, when we have used in our Ethiopia class, we have 40 minutes. In 40 minutes, how can we have to use break the 40 minutes? How can we have to use motivation in our class 40 minutes? It's my question.
Okay, thank you very much, Abdi. I think I understand your question. Like you have 40 minutes for each lesson. It's the same thing in Nigeria. Yes, in the primary school, we have 40 minutes for each lesson. And yes, we have teachers who will always tell you time is a problem. Time is never enough. Yeah, so teachers always complain about time, the time. But one thing I would say is this: if you set the right tone for your classroom, you will achieve much more than you struggling all through the 40 minutes. Imagine you've used the first 5 minutes, you know, to set the right tone, you know, with those wake up activities and those warmers and all of those things. And they are active in the class. They are ready to learn. They are attentive to you. Yeah, And before you know it, you're able to cover up your content. Otherwise, you come in and you just talk over their heads. And after everything, they start asking you questions, and you're like, come on, where have you been? I've mentioned all of these things before. So as much as we feel that, okay, the time constraint is there, if you put all of these things into work, you realize that it helps you to meet up with your objectives even faster. Yes. So I understand that, Abdi, and I hope I've been able to answer or help in that light. Thank you.
Awesome. There's a quite interesting question here from Tesfaye. So we'll maybe answer that question first before we move on to Rawa. So Tesfaye is asking, do you think both positive and negative reinforcement serves as motivation for students?
Positive and
negative. And I guess
reinforcement.
maybe bad marks, maybe as negative.
Okay, if bad marks will serve as a tool for motivating them to do better. Well, it all depends on the learner and the age bracket of that learner. For example, I know that for very young learners, we don't even encourage grading. So you cannot be teaching children of 2-3 years that you're giving them 30 over 100 or 50 over 100. You don't even do that. So, but for those in the university, like tertiary institutions, of course, they will see their CGPA and they need to sit up. So it all depends on the level of the learner. Sometimes it makes them sit up, but for some, like those who are very young learners, they will just cry and say, oh, but teacher gave me a red pen, and they'll just cry, So I think, yeah, it all depends on the learner. Sometimes it could motivate them to do better next time. And, for some who are still very young, they may just weep over it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Thanks, Blessing. So next, last question from Rawa. So Rawa, would you mind unmuting?
Okay. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
I can. Rawa.
Okay, so my question here is, I have different strategy to use in my classroom. Does those strategy depending on the age of the learner? For example, I have teenager and then I have children. I should vary the strategy from the one that I will use for children and the one that I will use for teenager. This is my question.
Yeah, it all depends on what you're doing. Yes, so you can have varied approaches. For example, for young learners, you may come with songs. London Bridge is falling down. If you go to a teenager car, is that doing that? They're looking at you. That come on, what's falling down? Where's the London Bridge? So there are different approaches. Yes, you can use songs. Yeah, for teenagers as well. But the type of songs that you use for them. For young learners, you might use some kind of rhymes, some baby rhymes. But for the older ones, you may come up with a game. Yeah, there are different things that you can do: brain teasers, quiz, and all of those things. Pick up this from the basket and say these fastest fingers. Call some words, fastest fingers, different things that teenagers will appreciate more than. And even though you want to use songs, you have to use songs that teenagers will appreciate, like maybe a rap song or a
I suspect Blessing has a connectivity challenge. So, Blessing, can you hear me? Blessing. Blessing. Hello. Yeah, we lost
for some time. Sorry.
Yes, please. Yeah, please carry on. We lost you some point.
At some points. Okay, I was responding to Rawa, and I was saying yes, and I was saying that it all depends on the class and the age bracket. So, for example, if you want to use songs, that for the very young learners, they will appreciate the use of rhymes. Rhymes as songs. But for older learners, like teenagers, they will appreciate maybe a rap song or a hip hop song. So you can compose one that will go with your lesson. It doesn't have to be any secular music. You can even use a secular music, but rephrase the lyrics to suit whatever you're teaching in the classroom.
Okay.
So I think that
you mean that You mean that I should use some motivation strategy on their interest?
Pardon me, please.
I should use a strategy on the interest of my learner.
Yes, based on the interest of your learners. Yes, so you have to study your learners. First of all, you have to know your learners, know what they like. Do they like songs? Do they like movies? Do they like games? Then use what they like to get them extrinsically motivated.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Rawa. Thank you for your question too.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much, Blessing. It was good to have you today. Lots of things to take away today from this session. So, but just wanted to make sure we understand that the session is actually over, but we'll have another opportunity next Friday to have some Q&A with Blessing, where we'll have the opportunity to ask her a question. I've seen some more questions in the chat, but unfortunately, we'll have to conclude. So I invite you all, if you're not members of our teachers Telegram community, we'll invite you to join. We'll share the slides in an email later on, but we have the link on the screen, and you have the opportunity to actually join the Q&A session next Friday. But I also wanted to take this opportunity to also invite you to our next webinar on the same theme, understanding your learners, where Abel will actually share a variety of tools that you can actually use to match your learners' needs and improve engagement in your classrooms and eventually improve learning outcomes. So we invite you all to also sign up for that webinar. And to close, just want to thank Blessing again for the session. Thank everyone else who attended today. Just wanted to share a few things from my notes. Just say that, from my own perspective, I sort of recall when I was a learner, and I could tell that teachers who had social skills had the ability to engage learners more. So teachers who didn't had a hard time getting learners engaged. So I guess teachers have all these different hats that they need to wear at different times of the year, at different periods in the classroom. So these motivating learners is actually quite broad. And Blessing has shared tons of activities, actually not just activities, but also strategies that you can actually use to adapt them based on your learner need. I think for me, that's the takeaway: adapting your strategies, adapting everything that you are bringing in the classroom to the learner's needs, but also to the activities that you want to sort of develop in class. So thanks everyone, and I wish you a good weekend, and I hope to see you next Friday for actually listening. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody.